Alright, what's up? This is the Naked Songwriter Reaction. So this is how it works. We get two songwriters and we're gonna show a scratch track that the other person has not heard at all. And we'll go in 2 rounds. The first round, they get to listen and they get to hear and they have no context at all. So all they have is the raw product, just as if you were walking to a venue. The second round, the songwriter will give context to what's going on. So like, this is the name of the song, this is the lyrics of the song, this is the emotions and vibe we're trying to convey. And then the other songwriter will critique and show some techniques or some sort of thing that will help accomplish the actual goal versus the product that they have right now. So let's get started. All right, so we got the ever-talented and articulate Disco Volante with me to critique my songs. So this is a song by my band Smoke From All the Friction. And all right, you ready, Disco? So we're gonna do the first round and just see what facial expressions and what cringy sounds I can create for Disco.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit play then. I love that synth sound in the intro. That's great.
Enters like a obituary is carved in stone. It cancels at the mind and body. Thought I would be different, I just hadn't grown. The skeletons coming on me like a stone. The original tone, the only change to come. Suffer pain, the strike of the blade, the self-affliction. You and I find we've got the same kind of heartbeat.
Those synths are so clean.
Seems like we're stuck on the repeat. Mother for the family stamped me. Jeans got me in a death grip. Normal's got me seething, teeth gritting. It's wrong, 'cause you're different. Dances like obituaries carved in stone. It catches in the mind and body. I thought I would be different, I just hadn't grown. The skeletons that come and haunt me. You and I find we've got the same kind of
Nice.
heartbeat. Scars settle in. Seems like we're stuck on the repeat. You and I find we've got the same kind of heartbeat. Scars settle in. Seems like we're stuck on the repeat. Broken machine.
Nice.
Left side chain for you.
Yeah, that's great. So it's a magical thing.
Puppets of our lineage, please dare me to drop. Can you risk the wound? Hand in hand, the shepherd won't hear us sing. And face the face of oblivion with me, your broken thing. We are broken machines.
So that was a scratch track?
Yeah. Well, so what I mean by scratch track is that, I mean, obviously the vocals are auto-tuned, and I mean, it's just kind of like one or two takes and stuff. And so I got the skeleton, I've kind of rewritten it a few parts, but like, obviously I'm gonna have to re-record all the actual live instruments on that. So that's kind of where, and
I really enjoyed it. I kind of felt like, so lyrics are always tough for me on first listen. What I could extract from it, though, just, the vocal structure I thought was great. I thought the vocals themselves sounded really good. Your vocals always sound really nicely produced, which is one thing that I have always had trouble with. So that was excellent. When I was listening to it, it was almost like listening to an anthology of every popular style of music for the past 10 years. And so, yeah, I kind of like, I kind of heard every element of things that, I know you and I have really enjoyed over the years. And it was good, though. The synth sounds were really nice. I mean, I know you said like a lot of the live instruments you're going to want to re-record, and I think there are places where the synths might be, beefed up a little bit too. But generally, every time I was like, waiting for the song to like go somewhere or to arrive or like to just kind of like deliver on what I was expecting throughout where it was building and the kind of direction it was going, it wouldn't quite put it where I expected it. It would just wait a little bit longer and then kind of get it to where I was expecting it to go. And I kind of enjoyed that, because it didn't feel like it was like pandering to just like, oh, let me write an anthology of, 2000s pop songs. I really enjoyed it. So it was pretty unique while still celebrating the things that have been really important developments in our consideration of pop music, I think. So the overall vibe I really enjoyed. Content-wise, I think from what I could gather, there's sort of this persistent vibe of like post-internet exhaustion, the kind of frustrated desire for connection through the pretty impersonal society that surrounds us. Like just the progression itself is pretty forlorn, and certainly the way the vocals are treated gives me kind of this image of a kind of wistfulness. It's not necessarily like a sad song, but it feels longing, it feels wistful, it feels kind of really just desperate for something real, desperate for something honest, and maybe searching for that. I don't know if necessarily you have a narrative with the lyrics, or if you're kind of the main character here. I'd have to take a kind of a closer listen, or maybe even just hear what you have to say about it. But content-wise, I think it reflects something that we all have sort of this instinct about wanting to connect with other people, and strangely, now that we have all of the devices to do that, we find it harder than ever to do so. And that was kind of I don't know how far off the mark I am here, but that was something I felt just from the aesthetic, or the oral aesthetic structure of the song. So how's that for first impressions? You want more?
That's exactly that's like, it's so scary, and like I can't even like. Part of me was like, wants to go like, no, it's actually blah blah. I'm like, no, you can't say anything. So it's actually pretty close. Like the forlorn, like wistfulness is really, really close to the emotion I was trying to convey. So it's not so much as distance via technology. I kind of use machines and computers as a metaphor, because I realizing that like the majority of disconnect and character flaws and traits that block us from really evolving to our fullest potential to connect with each other and connect with ourselves is not, it's our current programming, and we have a massive potential to update almost any part of our behavior and mindset and psyche. Like we are so adaptable, yet we treat ourselves like this is our programming now and it's always going to be. And we don't claim that. And because we kind of treat ourselves like machines as opposed to like these evolutionary, ever evolving creatures, that kind of allows us to stay more distant and not focus on our imperfections and update them, which allows us to connect to other people. It has a slight romantic like tinge to it, but it's more of like we get the same kind of heartbeat, and we could be, and like we're both like creatures that can evolve to be like not infinitely, but near infinitely connected. But we choose to stay.
Now that I'm reading it, and I do like reading lyrics to a song, because I always feel like a songwriter writes with intent. At least songwriters like you, and I I that's one thing I miss the most about CDs, about getting the or vinyls for that matter. You know, you get the jacket and it's got the lyrics inside. I always loved
And
reading.
it's got like that, like they put some sort of aesthetic with it. I mean, you can read it online, but then it's not.
Yeah, but then
It's
you read it on a
different.
screen. It's totally different.
Like they have control of like how much they put on a page and like
Yeah, and
what
we should
scribbles
definitely
they have behind it.
we should definitely do an episode about this at some point, about physical media and sort of my take on where that's going. But I do like reading lyrics. Now reading it, that makes perfect sense. I think it's a really beautiful analogy, actually. Because so much of what our day to day comes down to almost kind of treating your mind and body like a machine or like a computer, and we're expected to behave in that way, for all its vices and possibilities, and kind of exploring the potential of what's left unexplored, even despite this enormous potential to really interact on this level it's very interesting indeed. It's quite poetic. I like it.
Like I thought it was a kind of weird thing where we're so focused on our AIs becoming more and more human and us becoming more and more like machine. You know, like not that we're necessarily becoming more machine, but like I just think it's so interesting that we're focused. We're not focused on becoming more evolved ourselves and really finding those machine-like aspects of ourselves. But we're really focused on worried about our machines becoming more like humans.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have things like this really early on, kind of exploring that idea. Blade Runner, of course, being the classic example, but you have newer ones like iRobot or Ex Machina or Wall-E, that really start to dive into that line of thought. Which I always have a great interest in. We talked last time about kind of learning how to interact with these machines as though they were our companions. And I think in many ways we kind of do that unconsciously, and to the point where perhaps the machines become, or we become more like machines and vice versa. But yeah, let's go ahead and listen through that again now.
So,
all right. So Broken Machines is the working title, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to start if we could go to the time set 45. So at this point, I basically have like a little intro thing and then I go straight into the first verse, which the first verse is pretty like down tempo. I mean, it just has guitar and a tiny bit of synth and just a kick on the floor. So it keeps it moving, but like I want it to have a lot of space in between those kicks.
45, you said?
Yeah, and then right after that, there's this pre-chorus thing, and which is what I need help on. And
all right.
It feels a little jarring, and it goes into a quieter version of the chorus, which I think works. And I like the part before it, and I like the chorus. I need to build it up a little bit, but it feels a little strong.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and listen from 45 to the 1 minute mark.
Okay, that sounds good.
I'm going to start that in 3, 2, 1.
Coming on me like a stone, the original type, the only
Oh yeah, this was one part that I wanted to talk to you about. Okay, and then we get to this bit. Yeah, I love the synths there, where it kind of breaks out of that. The thing that really struck me about where those drums come in, it kind of the downbeat never really landed for me there. It kind of like broke into this drum part, and I actually wasn't quite sure where the downbeat was, which might have been intentional. It was kind of cool, like kind of kept everything up in the air. But then it ended up being this kind of cool like rolling drum bit, and I was wondering if maybe there was a way to just make that just a little bit more secure. It would kind of just drive it forward, just a tad.
Yeah, because I didn't want to, I was scared of going too straight, because right before I have 4 on the floor, and right after it, I have 4 on the floor. So I wanted something variation, but I think it kind of loses the groove. Like, it makes a new one and then never comes back to it.
Yeah, so maybe you can keep that. Maybe if you even just kind of use those toms as decoration, and then hit it with a crash or something there, or anything, any kind of.
Do you think I could just take out that part and see, do you think it could live without it? Going straight from 40 into, I guess, a minute.
Well, let me play it from 40 to a minute.
Coming on me like a stone, the original type, the only change to come. Stop the pain, the strike of the blade, the self-affliction. You and I find we've got the same kind of heartbeat.
I like it. I don't think you should get rid of it because something similar comes back later on. You have that sort of like drum and instrumental breakdown, which feels the same way, even if it's not exactly the same content. So I like the part, but maybe you can place it differently. Because you've got this really kind of nice reverse cymbal like rolling right into that, and that's actually kind of why I sort of lost the rhythmic compass there, because it's like, oh, it's coming, and then there's like the downbeat, it's there, but it's maybe it's panned off to the side or something. Again, really like the idea, but. Yeah. What would it be like if instead of bringing in that kind of rolling drum part there, you bring in what immediately succeeds that sort of bubbling synth bit with the the octave vocals thing, and just sort of flip the position of those two parts? I think that might be interesting. Let me just listen. I'm gonna go now from about a minute. Let's just go a minute, and we'll go straight a full minute. And there were a few things there that I thought were really great that I wanted to mention as well. So I'm going to... And this is a nice thing to call back to. Just you hear that line so clearly there. The same kind of heartbeat. Okay, so this part right here, I'm going to leave it playing. The string part is fantastic, and I love this part too. And this kind of sounds like what you have in the breakdown right before that pre-chorus.
It's like halftime.
Yeah, and it's great. I really like this part. This grooves. Nice decoration.
To be like.
Yeah, it's just ever so slightly beyond it sounds great. And I love the decorations you do in the guitar. There's just a lot of space. It feels really good. Yeah, so that whole section, I really kind of like that as an idea. The bit leading into it though, that sort of bit where you have the that really kind of like EDM-y string bit. I think you should commit to that a bit more, Okay. I think you should really just give it some real stop time, just a really nice punchy synth bass, and
Yeah, I have a problem repeating stuff sometimes. So.
And I think that would be really cool. If you just give it some real stop time before we get to that great halftime groove. And it is great. There's so much space. You can just you can headbang to it, you can dance around to it, you can do anything you want. It feels great. But I think what would make it really kind of jump out even more is if, with that lead up into it, it's subtle, and the parts that you use, the content is fantastic. Like I love that string part. It's just this nice bit of brightness right on top of everything. But the kind of like the longer, floatier bass underneath it, and I think there's kind of a pad that you've got going on at the same time, all very subtle, and again it sounds fantastic. Like the sound, your sounds are always great, but I think you could really actually kind of that's like the final gear shift before you get onto the highway. It's just really just pump it up there. I think that could be pretty cool. Or maybe you try it and it sounds like shit, but I don't know. Yeah. In my ears, it's I'm really ready to just, the best thing about this song, like I said, is that it kind of draws on everything that's been important in music for the past 5 or 10 years. And that includes this kind of tropical house, EDM flavored synth pop. And I would love to hear that kind of build just right before, because you expect it to go into this this kind of pump and bass, whatever. And it doesn't go there. It goes to this amazing halftime breakdown. And it just immediately I was just sitting here grooving in my room.
So it's too much of a fake build up.
Yeah,
I have a tendency to do that, and I like the idea of them, but they really kill the momentum of a song. So I write a bunch of them, then I gradually remove all of them.
They can, and the actual content is very subtle, and in the grander scheme of the production, I think it's quite artful. But yeah, go ahead and give it a real EDM build up there, really pump some gas in. I think that could give you a ton of momentum going into the actual breakdown.
Yeah, because that has that full verse is really it's halftime, has a lot of space on it. It's super not four to the floor. So like,
Yeah, and it's just like that. You can just wallop people over the head with that, and just give it the right build, and that can be a big moment. From a production standpoint, I mean, of course, I know this isn't the final draft, but I think you can just hammer the compressor on that part and just make it really huge and punchy, and just classic pop rock stuff. Have you ever heard of the group Streamer Bendy?
no.
They're an Australian group. I don't think they're active anymore. I've actually got a song I want to send you. Where they've got a really fantastic. They've got a really fantastic knack for making this kind of electro pop halftime thing just jump out of the speakers, and the content is all there. This is all literally all just production, and I think that's a wonderful part. I love that whole breakdown. Which is that the chorus, the actual lyrical content
Yeah.
during that part? Cool. Okay, let's go then from 2 minutes to 3 minutes now.
The common heart may.
That's so good. I love that drum part.
You and I thought we've got the same
Yeah.
heartbeat.
This first chorus I'm fine with, but like when I do this repeat at the end of the song, I feel like I worry it's too like noisy for too long.
Sure.
I'm not sure. I'm just afraid
Got the same kind of heartbeat.
So here's one thing. You know how you've kind of got the double chorus there, where it goes back to the same. You and I, we find we've got the same. I would actually cut that in half. I would save that double chorus for the end.
Okay.
'Cause I'm-
What if I wrote like just another half of the chorus?
Or that could be cool too. I'm actually ready for it to go back to the to like the verse at that point. Right, that was right around 2:30, I think.
Okay.
Where the chorus, I mean, it's all great. You create this amazing sonic landscape. I'm just like totally inside it all, and I love it. It's great, and I would love it even more twice as far along in the song. I think if you want a bit more, if momentum is the primary concern rather than texture, at that point, my ears were kind of ready to go back to the verse and to kind of hear some of that earlier content happen again. And just because all of that had so much forward motion, and when you arrive at that big, it's full of these great guitars, and you've got this, this killer drum part, and it's just, it rocks at that part, and I think you can have that chorus half as long, bring it back to some of the more really sort of development material, and then when you have that double chorus at the end, it's like you're just kind of swimming in this ocean of sound, and it's not easy to make a production like that. So kudos to you for doing that. But let me continue. I'm going to go now from 2:30 to let's go to 4 minutes, and I'll just going to make a few comments along the way, because I remember there was a lot that happened during that period. So I'm going to go now from 2:30 to 4, if that's okay with you. And,
Scars since life was stuck on a repeat.
yeah, see this part. So this part I really liked. It's kind of like Kygo meets Franz Ferdinand, and I mean that in a good way. And again, actually, okay, so actually, I'm going to pause it. Now we're at 3:03. I just paused it. You know how you have that ba 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 ba, and then the sort of counterpoint to that is the string part, the ba da 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 ba da 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 da. And at the same time, you have the twos and the fours on the or I guess the ands on the hi hat. So it's bop da bop 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 bop, and then the bop ba da 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 da, and there are all these rhythmic elements going on at once, and the net result is fantastic. Like it all works together really well.
It's like three polyrhythms on top. I tried to introduce them one at a time so they wouldn't jumble each other up.
It is, and it's great. I would actually, so this is the first time you kind of introduce that really kind of four to the floor drum part with like any real certainty. Maybe try it without the offbeats on the hi-hat first, and that kind of gives it a bit more propulsion. Really, maybe you put like an actual polyrhythm on the toms, or maybe just leave it completely just bass and snare, and really be like, okay, now we're, you can kind of put our feet on the floor there and just be like, okay, yeah, this is where we're gonna hang out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. I mean, it's got a lot of drive. It's like it's a very recognizable groove, but at this point, it's like you've kind of meander isn't the right word, but you've been exploring this really textural kind of chorus for about 30 seconds now, and you're really ready to just groove along to it. And I think you can actually remove some elements that might propel it forward a bit, even a bit stronger. So yeah, that part. I really want to hear what it would sound like with kind of just a really drum-based sound. I love that string material. And let me just go now from 3 minutes to 4 minutes. Go. Oh yeah, I love this part too.
Automatons with freedom, the door's always been unlocked. Puppets of our lineage, please dare me to drop. Can you risk the wound, hand in hand? The shepherd won't hear us sing. And face the face of oblivion with me, your broken thing. We are broken machines.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that section I remember really liking. Again, it's a very different idea from what had happened previously. How does this song start again? Let me just take a listen to the intro. I'm going to do that just quickly. Oh yeah, it's got that beautiful kind of atmospheric.
But basically, that bridge is basically the same chords as that intro, or
right.
slightly different order, but same rhythm and chord.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was the case. Oh yeah, and then it comes in with the da da. Yeah. Okay, so at that part, I love the way that it kind of deconstructs the entire piece, and then it's just like that bass and your voice. I've always been a fan of things like that. I kind of want to hear just those really bright strings, and then that just like super dark, kind of like really intimate section. Yeah, is there a way to have those even like closer together so that I hear the strings just like totally alone next to, and then immediately into where it goes after that? So let me see.
Like less space on that like string part, like on the.
So yeah, right at 303, you kind of have like the strings and everything going on. You've got the guitar part, you've got the drums rocking. Maybe just even like 2 beats of just the strings alone before you break into that that kind of bass and voice part.
Oh, so like drop out like the drums and stuff to add like this transition.
Because where you end up is you have this kind of like this kind of rushing noise in the background. It almost sounds like the ocean, coupled with this this really kind of smoldering bass, and then you got that great vocal that comes in on top of that. And it's such a subtle kick behind it, just kind of pushing it along. And I like the production a lot already, where that is. And then I really like that section. I like the way it kind of redevelops the track. And then.
Because I rewrote that a bunch of times because it was a little too like, I'm like, that's a cool part. It doesn't work in the song. Kind of, it was like I wrote one that was like super synth wavy, which was cool. And this is kind of like the neutered version of that.
Oh, it's cool. I mean, because it still rocks. It doesn't really take you completely out of that, like post-punk kind of feel. When it comes back in at 3:53, I want to hear a different guitar sound than the one that I've been hearing for the rest of the piece. You kind of got that like the lead line on the guitar at 3:53, right when it kind of breaks down again. You're a fantastic guitarist. I think you can cut loose of it there, and
Yeah, it was more of us trying to like keep some contiguousness. But if you think I could experiment with that.
Oh, totally. I think
a weird sound.
I think that's a perfect time for like this a huge guitar solo. Just like that can be huge for sure. Yeah, actually, and the first time I listened through that, and when it got to that breakdown, I was just like, I was ready to rock, and I'm like, oh, you're being awfully polite about that, aren't you?
Yeah.
And there, yeah, I really think you can just go for it, because that's kind of like what that entire section has really just brought us all to the edge of this cliff here, and
Do you think the drums? Let me. I guess.
now, and then here the offbeats on the hi hats that really works, and I think that should be the first time you introduce that there. Yeah, oh great, and that's great, and where it goes back to the chorus, I love that. But the lead guitar sound, it's like that entire section, it's gotten us so close to the edge here, and like we're all kind of staring off into the water beneath the cliff, and then you're kind of like, oh, make sure you don't fall off the edge, and kind of shepherd everybody back onto the. And I really just go ahead and dive right off there, and I think you can have just a huge guitar solo, and that would be.
You went like, do you think I should get like an 80s like Van Halen just kind of like crazy thing, or like stereotypical like shreddy guitar solo, or like do you think I should like try to pick a weird tone that's really big? And
for me, the content you choose to play is completely to your artistic discretion. For me, it's really the sound. That sound is pretty similar to like the guitar sound that was in like the development earlier in the piece. The way you're playing it, it's pretty subtle playing. It's kind of subdued, and you've got the palm mute thing going on, all of which sounds great. But I think you could kind of wail a little bit, like give us some longer notes and some longer tones to just really get carried away by. Because it's such a big moment in the piece, and it's like it's not often like we're always told like, oh, be subtle, be careful with it, don't overdo it, do overdo it. Here it's just it's ready, it's certainly ready. It's like you've been cooking up this piece the entire time, and I think actually at that point it's like I'm like really just wanting a huge guitar sound to wash over me. Not quite like Boris or Dinosaur Jr. or anything, but like a really good like rock guitar solo.
Okay.
You don't need to be polite about it. I think you can really crush it there.
Okay. Cool. I use that tone because I find it really easy to mix with other instruments, and that's probably the problem in that part. It mixes too well.
The mixing is fantastic, and it's like, and I was like,
stand out a little bit.
It's a nice mix, but yeah, it's like the beautiful thing about lead guitar and electric guitar in general is you can be in a group with a bassist who has an 8x10 cabinet and a drummer walloping the hell out of it, and you can still be on top of that. And you're kind of like sitting in the back smoking the cigarette, just playing real cool with it all, and just jump up on top of the monitor and give us something really really fun there. And I think that could be so cool. If that's what you're feeling at that time, if you really want to pull it back and keep it subtle, that's kind of cool in its own way. But just you've spent such a long time developing, almost a full 4 minutes developing the piece to this kind of my ears kind of take me to this is almost the apex of the piece, even more so than the final chorus, because we're all just kind of grooving along with it at that point. And I think this solo, I think you can really play around with it, and no need to be reserved if you don't want to be. If you hear something really big and bold, then by all means go for it. I think that would be a perfect opportunity to do so. The rest of the song kind of just plays itself out in a very natural way. It doesn't get boring. It's just
because I was wondering, like, because that double chorus, like, I mean, I put a little accent in the first half of it, so it has some kind of sparkling.
No, I think it's perfect material to end a song with. I'm just like, and that's why I say earlier in the song when you have that double chorus, maybe shorten that to just your single chorus, and that kind of gives it something to look forward to at the end, because it's great material, and I want to hear it a lot. And then hearing it twice after a roaring guitar solo, oh, that's perfect. It's great. Good track, really good track.
Oh, thanks, man. Cool.
I'm gonna play it out from 4:15 now, just because I want to hear it again. No. Yeah, oh, that stop right there. That's really, I like that. I was actually gonna say maybe you should try that, and then you already tried it. So. And I like how you keep some of the rhythmic elements in the bass and like the backing instruments.
Because it's still like it's 3 chords, like almost the whole song. So like,
And you know that so actually, where's that bit that comes before? In the very last time through the chorus, where is it? Oh, the that little kind of plucky synth that you have at around the 1 minute mark. That sort of arpeggio thing on that really nice plucky synth. I love that sound, and I want to hear it again right in that very last time through the chorus. Like it can be.
That's exactly what I need because I'm like I feel like it needs just a little something to step it up.
Yeah, just a little bit of extra sauce right at the end. I think could be pretty nice. And you know me, I'm kind of minimalist when it comes to productions too. It's very rare I say you should add something, but I think you should add that there. And that has the makings of a fantastic track. As though I'm some sort of authority on it, but I really like it. I think that's a really great track.
Cool. Thanks so much, man.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's a pleasure to listen to. So yeah, I hope that's helpful for you. And
Definitely, dude.
I shudder at the thought of what you're going to say
you're
about
up next
the scratch track I sent you. So.
I will say, like, knowing that I was going to send you this, I worked a little bit extra harder the last 2 days on it, which this is exactly the intention, you know, so.
Well, it's good. Yeah, I've got stuff that I was like, oh, you know, so for all of you watching, Cam brought this idea up to me. I was like, oh, scratch tracks, great. I've got a couple of things, I've got some stuff on tape, and, you know, it's like some of it's not even finished, and like, I was like, oh, yeah, this will be fun. I'll just get to see it in like the early phase, and then I hear this, I'm like, oh, shit, man, like I could have. Maybe
I'll medium phase. Like I mean,
maybe I'll work a little bit extra hard on mine too. But yeah, I really enjoyed listening to that. I think that's a fantastic track. I don't say that about a lot of stuff that I hear for the first time. So that's great.